Hey there, welcome to another episode of Cooking with Violet Vixen. Today, or should I say tonight, we are cooking cabbage with pork bangers. Now, bangers is a slang word for sausages. Here's what we need. This will serve two. So if you ever get a recipe for two and you want to serve four, just double the ingredients. It's pretty straightforward. I'll talk you through these ingredients in a moment, and I had to sneak in one more ingredient because some recipes don't count water as an ingredient. But if I don't give you an ingredients list and you don't have my recipe, how will you know to put the water in unless I tell you? So we'll go through that in a moment. Now, I've added extra sausages because I felt a little bit bad getting my butcher to deliver 4 sausages, so I've added another 2. So I probably will end up being able to freeze a portion because it's a lot of cabbage, even though it doesn't look a lot of cabbage. You're going to need a couple of things: a frying pan with a lid that fits on it, and a fairly large frying pan at that because we've got the cabbage. So I thought I would get the electric wok out, which I haven't used for a while, and then that way at least I can put a lid on it. So you will need that, and you'll need a stirring stick, and everything else it's all cooked in the same pan, which is great. So it's technically a one pan dish. So we're going to cook the sausages, and then we're going to take them out, put them aside, and then we're going to cook the cabbage, and then the sausages join back into the party. So let's come in and I'll show you the ingredients. So we have the electric wok, which I will spray because it makes it so much easier to clean. We're also going to need 2 teaspoons of olive oil, 4 thick pork sausages. There's 6 there. They are good ones from my butcher. Try and get really good ones because it'll taste so much better. 400 grams of red cabbage cored and shredded. Now, I don't know why they call it red cabbage when clearly it's purple. What a cool colour. I asked for 400 grams. I've got 650 grams, I think it was. I've shredded the rest of it up and I've put it in the freezer. So if I decided I wanted to cook this again, cabbage should freeze fine, and I'm cooking it anyway, so it doesn't matter that it's frozen. So that's a bonus. But if you are able to, excuse me, you'll probably get away with just a quarter of a cabbage, not half a cabbage. But if you want to double it, then obviously you're going to need 800 grams. 1 tablespoon of honey. Oops, nearly dropped those. 1/4 cup of orange juice. Now that was the equivalent of 1 orange. I just brought 2 just in case, and I will have that because it's coming into winter and I've got to boost up my vitamin C level because while I'm stressed, I am trying not to get sick, so I'm not thinking about that. So I'll just have extra vitamin C. 1 tablespoon of red wine vinegar. That is that one. 2 tablespoons of chopped walnuts. Now I just basically crumbled those up with my hand. I think that was about 5 or 6 walnuts anyway. And the final ingredient, which is 1/4 cup of water. Now that is just here. Okay, so it's fairly straightforward. So first of all, we are going to spray our pan. You don't have to do this step, but as I say, it's so much easier to clean, and especially since this electric wok has still got the silicone coating on it. Anything with a silicone coating, it's so much easier to wash it. Now I'm going to put this onto, this has got different settings. I'm going to put it on about 8, which is halfway. And we need to put in 1 teaspoon of the olive oil. So over the back here, there's the teaspoon. So I'm going to put 1 teaspoon in. Now keep that teaspoon and the olive oil out because we are going to be using more of that. add the sausages and cook for 6 to 8 minutes or until browned and cooked through. Okay, so these will cook very quickly in the wok. They're already sizzling. I'll bring the camera in closer once I get the sausages in. Okay, now I do not recommend you put them back on that plate because you've had raw food, so you need to get a clean plate. But you'll be okay to keep your spoon on there. Yes, I was lost for English just then. Okay, so our pork sausages are in there. So because this is silicone coated, I can't just get a pair of metal tongs. So I'm just going to use this and sort of turn them over as I go. So about 6 to 8 minutes, and then we're going to remove those. So our sausages are nearly ready. I've just given them probably their final turn. It doesn't matter if they're not fully cooked through because they are going back in. So just make sure that they're basically browned on each side. The wok is probably not the best option for doing the sausages, but because this one especially sort of clicks on and off with temperatures. So I'm just going to remove them now because, as I said, I'll heat them through later, of course. Let's get them out. As you can see, some are cooked a bit more than others, but don't stress because we will fix that up at the end of the cook. All right, so back to the wok. Let's grab our olive oil again. We're putting in our second 1 teaspoon of olive oil. Trying not to run out of olive oil because it's very expensive. Lasts forever though, that's the problem. It's one of those things where it's expensive, but it lasts forever. So you've just got to try and buy it on a week when you're not spending as much money at the supermarket, which is very hard at the moment. Okay, we're going to add the cabbage, cook stirring for 3 minutes or until just tender. So if you see what I mean, there's quite a bit of cabbage in there, but this will wilt down very quickly. So 3 minutes. Give it a stir. Such a pretty colour. All right. Keep it on a high heat because it does wilt down a lot quicker when it's really hot because it sweats. I'm going to actually increase the heat so that we can, because we're going to bring some water out in it anyway, it won't hurt it too much. So I've put it up to the highest heat I can. So we're stir frying now. Or until just tender. Add the honey, toss to coat, add orange juice and 1/4 cup of cold water. Bring to the boil. Okay. So we're basically going to almost be ready to start and put our honey in, which was 1 tablespoon. Let's get that ready now. There we go. Now I'll grab a teaspoon. What I do is I grab a teaspoon just so that I can get all of that honey out. Now because the honey's in and it's going to get really hot, I am now going to turn the temperature down. Turn it back down to where we were for the sausages. If you're on the stovetop, I would keep it on the highest heat though. Alright, now we're sizzling away with that honey in there. Beautiful. Okay, let's get that orange juice in and the water. Perfect. All right. Bring it to the boil, reduce heat to medium low. Which in this one's case, medium low, I'm going to put it on about 4. Cook covered for 18 minutes or until just tender. All right, I will see you then. Okay, so after 18 minutes, we are going to remove the lid. I was a bit worried because I had to turn it down. This one works really well, and it was getting quite steamy in there. So I took the lid off and backed off the temperature, but it is all fine. So next up, what we are going to do is we are going to add our vinegar, which is 1 tablespoon. Or in my case at the moment, it is going to be 2 half tablespoons because I only have 2 1 tablespoons. So 1, 2, so 1 tablespoon of that. Give it another stir. Okay, so we want to give it another 8 minutes. Increase heat to medium high. Boil for 8 minutes or until liquid has evaporated and cabbage is dark red. It's getting there. All right. So we're going to put our lid back on. Whoops, I nearly put that in the sink. All right, timer on. I'll see you soon. Okay, so we're about ready to lift off our lid. I guess that would be what they would consider a red cabbage. The liquid's practically evaporated. It's a bit steamy in here. All right, so what we need to do now is push the cabbage aside, and we're going to put the sausages back in just to finish cooking them through. Now, if you're not using all of the sausages and you're going to be warming it up, you won't need to cook these for very long. I can still see some liquid down the bottom. So they say cook for about 3 minutes or until heated through. So we're just basically making sure our sausages are done. So I'm going to crank that up again. And we'll pop our timer on for about 3 minutes and we're nearly ready to go. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that because the cabbage is actually starting to stick and burn. So that is why I say to not to spray it. So if you just put the sausages over the cabbage, they will cook through. If you're warming them up or freezing them, you don't really want them super cooked anyway. Right, so put it all in. We're going to sprinkle the walnuts over the top and serve. All right, thank you for watching this episode of Cooking with Violet Vixen. This has been cabbage with pork bangers. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll catch you on the next adventure. Bye.